coordinating articles criticizing President Trump. And nobody read them. If jerks like me weren't talking about it, would you even know? Yes, another public display of the press exercising their right to irrelevance. Remember when the New York Times ran an editorial saying you should vote for Hillary, and the rest of the media followed? Now they say Trump's blocking free speech, as they all screamed this in unison. Trump accuses them of groupthink, and they respond with groupthink. Now, since the election, the media's been one malfunctioning car alarm, loud, relentless, and broken. This, after sleeping through Obama's terms, ignoring Iran, the DOJ, the IRS, immigration, while dreaming of Hillary. And now he's gone, their dreams are shattered, and now they're wide awake because Trump is their Red Bull. What phonies. They gave Trump endless airtime while wringing their hands, thinking it was okay because Hillary had it in the pantsuit. But the palooka you propped up wasn't the empty can you thought he was. While mocking Trump nonstop, people stopped caring about what you thought. That Red Bull gored your butt, and now all you can do is blame him for what you helped do. And they say Trump targets all news, not fake news, which is fake news. They ignore the clarifications that are obvious to us. No surprise. Remember when one of us would criticize Obama or Hillary, we'd be called a bigot? I remember that like it was yesterday, probably because it was. You sought to silence opinion through fear and smear, and now you pretend you're the victim. You're not oppressed, just depressed. Get over it. All right, Jedediah, welcome back to the show.
Thank you.
I know you were in Italy. I heard it's a wonderful place.
It is.
That was your honeymoon, was it not?
It was. I ate enough gelato for all of us.
Well, I don't see it anywhere, Jedediah.
It was delicious.
Oh, fantastic. So,
gelato, but I made it back.
Is press speaking truth to power, or are they just whining to each other?
They're so nauseating. This is why people can't stand the media. It's like they say, oh, we had to write this to remind people of the important role that journalists play. If you have to write an editorial to remind people of the important role, maybe you're doing something wrong. There might be a problem. I just think it's so funny because he doesn't criticize freedom of the press. He's not attacking freedom of the press. He's attacking journalists who make it their job to every day go out and with bated breath wait for something to criticize about him. And it's not about Donald Trump. They've been doing this they did it to George W. Bush. They did it to Dick Cheney. They did it to Sarah Palin. The problem is now they have a guy that calls them out and they don't know what to do about it. And it's so crazy to me that what you said before, the collectivist mentality, he's out there saying, you guys are all against me. You guys are on a mission to take me out. And they in response are saying, let's all group together and collectively tell him, no, we're important. That's the point. You are making his point. Thank you, journalists, again, for making his point. And once again, I've seen him pay homage to many journalists. He doesn't make a broad sweep. Jesse gets a lot of love.
Journalist Jesse.
Many people have written books, but he's tired of this. He's tired. And people out there are saying, yeah, you know what? He's tired of it. He's speaking out. We wish other people before him would have spoken out. And when he says stuff like the press is, the enemy, and people are at home saying, you know what, we've been waiting for someone to call this out for so long. Thank you for saying that. It's not the press at large, but when you're out there saying, I'm an objective journalist, and you're not, and you're making it your job every day to take down the guy in the White House, somebody should call you out, and I thank him for doing that.
This is ridiculous, but I mean, to me, when he calls the American press enemy of the American people,
fake news.
Says,
fake news.
Oh, fake news. Oh, he never said it now. And then how
No, he said fake news.
He says fake
news. He said fake news.
No, he didn't. He
They're
said
tweets.
this,
I saw them.
Yes,
with these eyes.
He said it.
These
flatly.
beautiful blue eyes.
The enemy of the American people. He has threatened even to change the libel laws. We've gone away from briefings at the White House. And you know what? I think it's appropriate for the editorial sections of these newspapers, not the news section. It was the editorials to say, you know what? We're not the American people. We are the American people. The American people, in fact, America is founded on the idea of a free, vigorous press.
Nobody's arguing.
Well, hang on.
Trump
and
is
the legitimate purpose of the press is to be an adversary to people in power and hold them accountable.
Like they were with Obama.
Exactly, they were with Obama.
Oh,
and especially to a guy who lies and just says, oh, what's the big deal? Yesterday, in talking about John Brennan revoking the security, he says, oh, this was all about protecting national intelligence.
Right.
And then he turns around and tells the Wall Street Journal, which didn't run this editorial, by the way, the Wall Street Journal tells them, oh, yeah, that was about the Russia investigation, because he's one of the guys that started. So somebody's got to be a watchdog and call Trump on his lies, and yet you guys want to sit here and pretend. And let me tell you the danger of this. Over half of Republicans listening to this now say they agree with Trump. And guess what? Okay. It invites the threat, this is what one of the papers said, it invites the threat of violence against people doing their job, which is to report the news.
The violence against, what you mean when Antifa went after that reporter. Jesse,
yes.
I am amazed that now we're demanding that all of our politicians tell the truth. That's incredible to me because there was always this assumption.
Obama lied for a whole year about being able to keep your health care, and no one called him out on that.
Oh, no, I never heard about it.
They never had an adversarial position against Barack Obama. They loved Barack Obama. Obama joked about it at the White House Correspondents' Center. Oh, you guys are my base. And everybody laughed and was drinking champagne. Stop pretending like they were tough on Obama. They weren't. They'd have a lot more credibility if every administration that came around, they were this adversarial. But they don't, and they're not. And that's the problem. Because Donald Trump has exposed them as dishonest Democrat Party hacks. The media right now are extensions of the Democratic Party. They give him no credit for anything good he does and deny him all credit for anything he does. Everything is framed as something he's done is evil, is wrong, as backwards, and he's not given a fair shake. So when he says, you guys are the enemy of the people, what he's saying is, you guys are denying the truth to the American people, you're feeding them spin, you're feeding them dishonest propaganda to help the Democratic Party, and you're not shooting straight. And why they get that so upset is because their credibility rests upon the fact that they pretend to be independent, and when he says you're not independent, and you're lying about that, they can't handle it. They can dish it out, but they can't take it.
The only thing the king wants is somebody who will adore him, who will honor him, say Donald Trump's the greatest ever.
Like when Obama had 90% of the press fawning over him. They asked him a question in the press conference. What's the most enchanting thing about being at the White House?
Let's think about this for a second together, America. #1 talk show in America, Rush Limbaugh. So easy on Obama. #1 newspaper in America, Wall Street Journal. So easy on Obama. #1 cable network in America, Fox News. So easy on
for America.
What does that tell you?
Not the media.
Number one.
They're
number one.
No, I'm just telling you. You say so easy. Nobody can decide Obama.
You want a monopoly.
Outrageous. And
you can't stand criticism. That's
Can I just slow this thing down? Everybody get to that happy place. Dana, I am convinced that when the 300 papers did this, it reached at least 300 editors. Because I swear no one would know about this if I had...
I'll be slightly contrarian.
Oh, no.
So, I love the media. I love news. I love journalism. I feel like I'm adult enough and mature enough to be able to identify when somebody at a certain other network stands up and makes a story about himself versus something that is amazing. Like, there's some great journalism being done in long formats, in new formats, like on podcasts. There's some really good stuff that also, a lot of it doesn't have anything to do with President Trump. There's a lot of good stuff out there, and let 1,000 flowers bloom. The First Amendment includes the freedom of the press for a reason. I believe in the Constitution. I think our founding fathers understood that, as we've all been saying, the adversarial relationship is going to be there, but it is the most important thing. I don't mind that they did the editorials. It's fine. Maybe it doesn't have that much of an effect, except for maybe to get us riled up. But also, he has gone after the media pretty viciously, sometimes deservedly. But, he likes to call himself a counterpuncher. Well, other people can be counterpunchers, too. And if they can counterpunch with an editorial, so be it.
Oh, yeah, except that it was a counterpunch by mob. They did it together, and they all sound the same. It just makes him look better because he's lone. And I still maintain he's talking about fake news, not the whole news. Can we just run what you wanted an example, Juan, of the media and how they feel about Trump and how they're in collusion with the Democratic Party. John Heilman, take it away. Describe Trump.
I would like a pollster to test this question. How many people in the Republican Party think that it would be okay for Donald Trump to dissolve their own grandparents? I'm virtually certain that if it was a Donald Trump-related question, you'd get like 10% that would be like, Donald Trump has the power to do whatever he wants, including kill my parents.
Oh, wow. Okay. That's totally sane, Jedediah.
The thing is, when the vast majority of the media is opposed to one side on a pretty consistent basis, own it. I feel like they should own it. When people who are saying that they're objective journalists are repeatedly taking one side over another, that's a problem. That is the responsibility of any person with a brain and a thinking person to come out and say, this is not a fair and balanced media. That doesn't mean there aren't good journalists. That doesn't mean that journalists aren't supposed to be watchdogs. And that doesn't mean that everyone in the press is terrible. But there is an inherent, consistent, motivated, agenda-driven bias in much of the media. It's incumbent upon people to call that out and acknowledge it. You have to admit that.
No, I don't. And by the way, the example that Greg gave us, the example that Greg gave us of John Heilemann is not there as a journalist. He's there as a commentator, and he's offering his opinion in much the way that we do at this table.
We have never said anything like that. President Obama would kill your parents if he had the chance.
I won't tell you what we've said on this network about Obama. Let's not get crazy.
Juan, did they have any balance on that panel, by the way?
I don't know.
Was there any Republican on that panel that was saying one nice thing about
and John Heilemann is a journalist.
This is not what the editorial was about. The editorial is about protecting the idea that reporters can go out and do their job, report the news, and they're not the enemy of the American people.
That was just one giant tantrum. That's all it was.
They've been calling Trump the enemy of minorities, of the Constitution, of the rule of law, and of the American system for the last year and a half. So Trump then hits back and says, no, you're the enemy of the American people. And they say, oh, someone's going to get hurt.
Please,
Come on.
give me cheese.
All right, I thought that was quite... I quite enjoyed it.